Hello everybody and welcome back to my sunroom here in East Tennessee on this rainy yet warm 55-degree day. What a difference a week makes. This time last week we had minus 18-degree wind chills, and today it's just like a warm rainy spring day. So I wanted to come on today, wish everyone a happy New Year's. Let you all know that I have just so enjoyed sharing my orchid journey with you this year, 2022. I can't believe that it's the last day of 2022, but I'm ready to turn that page and move into the new year. So today I thought I'd go over some orchid growing challenges, specifically things that we can't control and a few things that we can. This is a topic I haven't done a video about in quite a while. Most of you know I've been growing orchids for 20 years, and I've learned that some grow years are just better than others. Some years the weather is better. Sometimes you have more time to spend with your orchids than other years, and these two factors are beyond our control. Weather happens and life happens. And one of the things that we can do that we can control to make our lives easier is to use excellent quality bark and moss and products with our orchids that help them to thrive. My channel is sponsored by the Orchid Supply store, and everything you see that I use with my orchids comes from the Orchid Supply store. And if you use my coupon code AMY, then you'll receive a 12% viewers discount. As I'm standing here looking at part of my orchid collection, as you all know, some of them do grow in my house, but I'm looking at specific ones that I have definitely made mistakes with over the years and learned from those. You can imagine, in 20 years of growing, I've seen a lot happen. I've seen extreme cold like we had this past weekend, surprise cold snaps that weren't predicted. I've seen 80-degree days in the middle of February after a week of snow, and I could go through several of my orchids and tell you about mistakes I've made with them. I've forgotten to water them. I've watered them and left them setting in water. I've broken spikes off. I've dropped them. Whatever mistake that you can make with an orchid, I think I have been there and bought that t-shirt. Oh, and I forgot to mention, I've also set them in a cold window and they've frozen. I've broken off new roots because I chose the wrong time to repot. I set them in too hot of a window and they scorched. So I've learned that when things are beyond your control, things just happen like this. Weather, human error, life happening. Remember, there's always next year. Let's say if your buds blast or you lose leaves due to extreme cold like we had last year. Well, last week, I'm beginning to already talk like it's 2023. But let's say you lose some buds or some leaves. There's always next time. There's just some grow years that are just better than others. Some years the weather is more predictable. And really, that's just beyond our control. So here's my point. The way that I've enjoyed this hobby and sustained my collection for so long is that I've taken the things that are beyond my control in stride and kept them in perspective. Do I jump up and down when this happens? No, I'm not happy at all when, broken spikes or I've dropped a plant or I've made a mistake. I'm not happy about it all. But I also know that mistakes will be made. You all know that I'm really vigilant about my orchids. I'm really careful with them. But when things do happen, I move on and I keep my joy. This hobby should bring you joy and shouldn't stress me out. I just kind of decided a long time ago there's some kind of an emotional response that we have to orchids because they're so beautiful. But we're human and there's always next year. If the worst comes to worst, like the time that I froze a miniature Phalaenopsis a couple of years ago. I didn't realize that it was so cold. There was like a pocket of cold in this window. I'll show you where. Over here by my Dendrobium Solea Champu that everyone loves so much that's in bloom. I had put it back in that window, just too close, I suppose. And one night it got cold back here a few years ago. It just froze the whole plant. I lost that plant. So what I did is I replaced that plant. Was I happy about it? No, because I'd had it a few years. But the good thing is you can always replace the plant, or you can find something that you like just as well if it is irreplaceable. That's the good thing about this hobby. They always come up with new orchids. Another thing to keep in mind is that your skill set will improve the longer you grow orchids. Be consistent and be persistent. And you're going to learn little things along the way about your environment that will be unique to your growing space. It took a while for me to adjust to my sunroom, especially in the winter when I have to supplement the heat. I check on them really often to make sure that the heat is just right and there's enough humidity back in my sunroom. Well, plus I love being around them, and that's key in this hobby. I can advise you how to water and fertilize and repot your orchids, what types of media are good to use, what temps they thrive in, and the amount of light they need. But keep in mind that the unexpected does happen, and you just have to learn to accept that as a grower. So today I just kind of want to encourage you, just keep going, keep growing. This hobby is it's such an enjoyable one. I know several of you have told me that you can't lift things like you used to, and I completely understand. There's times that we all have challenges and struggles with our orchids because life does happen. But even when you grow smaller orchids, the minis or smaller species, that can work. And I've seen a lot of growers adjust just that, and the hobby becomes doable again. Several of you have commented on my Tolumnia grow space here in my kitchen. It's just a small space with a small LED halo light. And this is such a small, little compact plant. It's not going to get any bigger. It's going to add fans, but the plant itself is only about, about 3 inches tall. These don't weigh anything. So I decided to get smaller plants that are easier for me to move around. I love my larger orchids, but I only have so many in my collection. I know how many of the larger ones I can have before watering day becomes a real chore. So that's part of my growing mentality. I can control by choosing smaller plants how much I water, how often I water, and how easy it is for me to do that. So I like to make really wise choices and control what I can, because it just makes life easier. So the bottom line is, control your environment, your space, your growing techniques as much as you can, and then remember things that happen that are just going to be out of your control. So I hope this has been helpful to you all. I've enjoyed sharing this with you all. And here at the end of the year 2022, I want to thank all of you for being a part of my channel this year. I hope that I've shared some useful things with you all and offered you some encouragement and inspiration. I wish all of you the happiest new year, and I really look forward to sharing more of my orchid experiences with you in the new year. And before I go, I'd love to say the blessing over you, your families, and your new year. May the Lord bless you and keep you, make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn His face toward you and give you and your families His peace. Happy New Year's, everybody, and we will see you next week, also known as next year.